Hello everybody, I'm Fool back with GTA Vice City in the last episode. We finished up the film studio missions, and this part we are going to be doing the car dealership missions. And what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to bring one of each cars into this garage right here. There are multiple different vehicles we need to get. I know it just says this, but there's at least 4 other sets of cars we need to get. So, you know what? I have almost all these cars in my garage. So I will be getting the first one, which is the Landstalker. So I'll meet you guys back here with the Landstalker. Alright, here we go. Here's the first car, the Landstalker. If you are, say, looking for other vehicles like the Rancher, it's easy to confuse the Rancher with the Landstalker. One way you can tell the difference between a Landstalker and a Rancher is the Landstalker is a little bit smaller in height than the Rancher, and the big difference is the Landstalker has a tire on the back of the car when the Rancher does not. So that's one way you can tell the difference. So we'll be going inside here. And one thing that people are obsessed with is this little computer right here. I believe it's called the Krypton or something like that. Something 9000. This same computer is in Joey Leone's car garage in GTA 3. Along with this door, this tool set, and this blue tool set. So, all these are in the same garage as Joey Leone's in GTA 3. Just a little Easter egg. There you go. Now let's close the door. And delivered it, and Landstalker is now crossed up on the list. The next car is the Idaho, so I will go and get that Idaho. Alright, here is the next car, the Idaho. Nothing too special about it. It's kind of common, so I guess. So let's just take it in here. And I think it's crossed off the list. And the next car is the Esperanto, and I will go get the Esperanto. And here we have the Esperanto. The Esperanto may look the same like the Idaho, however, the Idaho can be 2 different colors. The Esperanto is one solid color, so that's an easy way to find them. So there you go. That's how you find the Esperanto. That checks another one off the list. And the next one for us is the Stallion. Here we have the Stallion. Now the Stallion is a very interesting car. The Stallion can come into 2 colors, just like the Idaho. However, it can also come in as a convertible. So, you know, there's 2 different varieties of Stallion. There's the convertible or the normal version. And plus, another way you can tell the difference between the Idaho and the Stallion is the Stallion's more even on the body, and the Idaho has a lower back to it. That's just me nitpicking. That's how you find an easier car. And let me go get the Rancher. Here we have the Rancher. The Rancher, just like the, like I said about the Landstalker, it's both a kind of like a Jeep type vehicle. However, you can tell that it is lifted, and on the back of the Rancher there is no tires. Well, no tire, like I said about the Landstalker. So there's that, and such a nice song putting the Rancher inside the garage. And now, let's move on to our last vehicle, the Blister Compact. Alright, I'll go get that, guys. I'll meet you back here. And here is the Blister Compact. It is a very unique vehicle. It has its own shape and own type of car. It's definitely the fastest out of the list of cars here. So let's put it in here, and let's complete our list. All the cars, nice. Here's a little something. We have a Deluxo. It is a very unique car. This is the only time in the game you can get a Deluxo. This is the only Deluxo in the game you can have. And the car showroom asset completed. And we can now have up to $1,500 here. But we can raise it to have more money. So the next cars we'll be getting is the Saber, the Virgo, the Sentinel, the Stretch, the Washington, and the Admiral. This has the trifecta of terrible look-alike cars. The Admiral, Washington, and Sentinel all look the same. There's a tough way. I don't know if you can actually tell the difference between the cars, just look-based. So I'll meet you guys when I get the Saber. And here's our first car, the Saber. The Saber does look a little bit like the Stallion, except the hood just looks different and it has more of a trunk than the Stallion. I really wish the Saber was green. It'd be a little bit nicer if it was green. Wink, wink. But I guess I have to settle for red. Up next is the Virgo. Okay, here we have the Virgo. Now there's the Virgo on the back of it, as you can tell, is black. Sometimes it's white, which can get it mixed up with another car called the Greenwood. Now the Greenwood has 4 doors, but you probably won't notice that when you're driving on the road. So you probably think the Greenwood is the Virgo, and you'll probably mix them up. But the Virgo, a good way to tell if it's a Virgo or not is if it's a coupe. That's the ultimate way to find out if you have a Virgo or a Greenwood. And next card we have is a Sentinel. Here we have the first of the terrible 3, the Sentinel. The Sentinel is a 4-door car, just like the Admiral and the Washington. I don't know how you can tell the difference between them, but here we go. We have the Sentinel, and that's one of the cars on the list, and one of the terrible 3. After that, we have the Stretch. And here is the Stretch. The Stretch is pretty much a limo. The only place you can find a Stretch that I know of is on Starfish Isle at Vercetti Estate. So finding a Stretch is super easy. It is at the island pretty much like 80% of the time. If it's not there, you can just drive around for a little bit. Next up is the Washington. Here is the second of the terrible 3. The Washington. One way you can distinguish the Washington from the Sentinel is the rims. They have 2 different rims, and the back of the Sentinel is the back of the Washington is a little bit longer than the back of the Sentinel. But if you're driving fast on the road, you're not going to notice it unless you are unless you're focusing really hard when you're driving on the road, or just by luck you get into the Washington. And that leaves us with the last of the terrible 3, the Admiral. And the last of the terrible 3, the Admiral. The only difference I can tell from the Admiral is probably the back windshield seems larger, but I think it may have different rims than the other cars, I guess. But that is the last of the terrible 3. If you can tell the difference from them on the road, you know, congratulations. I really can't. And that is the last of this list. We got ourselves a new car. I don't know what kind of car that is, but it's very nice. And it looks fabulous. And we can now have $4,000 as our revenue. So that's awesome. And now let's move on to the last. Well, I think it's the third. It's the next list. All right, so let's go find the Cheetah. Here's first of the sports cars, the Cheetah. The Cheetah has the widest frame of the sports cars, and I think it rides lowest to the ground, but still, it is one of the nicest sports cars in the game. I like it a lot better than the Infernus. This is my honest opinion, but not as much as the Stinger. And our next car is the Infernus, which is definitely the easiest car to find in the game. Here is the most common car in GTA Vice City, and the easiest of the sports cars to find, the Infernus. The Infernus, you can tell it's different with the spoiler on the back and the goggles on the front. It looks like it has goggles. And this one is, you can find it 100% of the time at the Vercetti Estate. So you should have literally no problem finding this. It's so easy to find it. And it brings us to the next one, the Banshee. And here's the Banshee. The Banshee is another sports car I relatively like. I like the GTA 3 version better, but it's whatever. The Banshee has a very narrow front. The controls are very nice. I like it a lot. Not as much as the GTA 3. The GTA 3 version is convertible, while this one does not come in as a convertible. And the next car we have is the Phoenix, which is a very, very, very nice car. And here's one of my personal favorite cars, the Phoenix. The Phoenix, I think, is a reference to the Firebird. It might be, I don't know. You can definitely tell the difference between a Phoenix from any other car is obviously the hood. And when it's a white Phoenix, it actually has a stripe down the middle, which helps show how different it is. And it's a really nice car. The only problem is it turns like shit and the rims aren't that good looking. And now that brings us to our next car, the Comet. And here is the Comet. The Comet you might know from Leaf Links. I'd probably say about 75% of the time there's a Comet out front of Leaf Links, so that makes it easier to find. The Comet is very fast and makes great turning. It's kind of like the Stinger, but a little bit smaller. And that brings us to our last car, the Stinger itself. Here is the last of the sports cars and my personal favorite car, the Stinger. The Stinger is a very fast car. I cracked the windshield. It is a very fast car. It can come in as a convertible or not as convertible, and it makes the sharpest turns in the game. It is just a fabulous car, and that is the last of our sports cars. Fabulous. And now we have a new car in our place. That is a beautiful little truck thing we have. And we now can have up to $6,500. And here is the last of our list. These cars are actually very, very, very common. And I'm pretty sure you can find them literally anywhere. Pretty much anywhere. The first of these cars we have is the Voodoo. The Voodoo is the gang car used by the Haitians. And it is the only game in the car that is a hydraulic car, which has a nice touch to it. It's very interesting. And that is the Voodoo. You can find a free Voodoo by Auntie Paulette's house. And the next car we have is the enemies, the Cuban Hermes. Here we have the Cuban Hermes. The Cuban Hermes, obviously you can tell, is different from the Hermes. It has flames on it, and it sounds louder, and it also sometimes shoots flames out of the exhaust pipe, which is pretty cool. It's definitely faster than regular Hermes, which makes it so much better, and it's just a relatively nice car. Now next we have is the Caddy, which we can obviously find at the golf course. So, 4! And here is the golf cart. The golf cart you can find sometimes on the golf course, but I found there's an easier way to get one, and there's one actually hidden by the lighthouse. So that's really helpful if you want to find a Caddy. And that's another one down. And then next we have left is the baggage. So we haven't found that car yet. I guess it's time to find it. Now the baggage handler, you can only find it at the airport. You can't find it on the road of the airport, but where the planes are. It's a very, very, very slow car, but hey, if it wants to take it, go right ahead. And that brings us to our next car, the Mr. Whoopee. I think we just got one of those. Here is the Mr. Whoopee ice cream truck. The Mr. Whoopee ice cream truck, you can only get it after purchasing the ice cream place. So you have to buy the ice cream place before you get Mr. Whoopee. And Mr. Whoopee comes in 3 different colors, blue, red, and yellow. In GTA 3, it was only blue and red. You can only tell by the bumpers. And it has its own little ring. It's awesome. And this is how you attract customers. And on the top is 2 ice creams with cherry on top. You guys know what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look like a pair of boobs. So there's that. And the last car we need to get is a pizza box. I don't know how we're going to ride a pizza box over here. And here we have the last vehicle, the Pizza Boy. I call it the Pizza Box, but it is the Pizza Boy. You can find them at literally any pizza place. And there's nothing fantastic about them. I feel bad for the poor bastard who has to drive one of these. My God, they're awful. And that is the last of all the vehicles. And we get a race car. Yes, a race car. It is gorgeous. Look at that thing. Beautiful. And now we can up to $9,000. And we have no more cars to get. So let's check out some of our cars. We have like 1 minute and 10 seconds or something like that. Here is a Saber Turbo. It sounds very beautiful. The Deluxo, which is a reference to the DeLorean, in case you didn't know. Here is our race car up here, and our gigantic car. It's beautiful. So, in the next part, we will be buying something. So, if you guys like the video, guys subscribe to the comment. I'll see you guys next time. I'll see you guys then in the next part of GTA Vice City.